Hi, I'm Debbie and welcome to Book and Bujo. Today we are going over my TBRopoly for May. How did I do in April? So in April I ended up with, 13 books? I think I had 13 rolls. I decided to go crazy and roll my D20 die and yeah, got 13, which is cool. I mean, it's a great number and all. So here's all the books that I had to read in April. Let's see how I did. Okay, so for my first roll, I landed on TBR Jar, and for that I picked Inkheart, and I did read that. For my second roll was an odd, and that was to do a reread. And for that I chose The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, and I still liked it just as much this time as I did last time. Roll number 3, I rolled an odd, and that was to read a romance. You can see that, they'll focus on there. So to read a romance, and for that I read The Bennett Women, and that is by Eden Apaya Kupi. I did read that. Roll number 4 was a booktuber rec, and for that I went with The Wild Sasha and her Howling Pack Book Club, and her recommendation for A Master of Gin by P. Jelly Clark, and I did read that. Okay, roll number 5 was an even, and that was to read a standalone, and for that I read Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, and I did read that. Roll number 6 was an even. I can get the cards apart, and for that I read the first book in Trials of Apollo series, and that was The Hidden Oracle, and I did finish that one. Next roll was an odd, and it was to read a book made into a movie, and I did a quick little search on the internet, and it did say that this book was adapted into either a movie or a series. For that I read Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak, and I did finish that one. Next up was an odd card, and that was to read a YouTube pick, and so that's one where I go through YouTube and find some recommendations that quite a few people are talking about, and for that I read Pyramids, which is the 7th book in the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett, and I did finish that one. It was one of his longer ones, but I really enjoyed it. So roll number 9. Oh, that's right. So I forgot I had a few doubles too. So I think I ended up with more at 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I ended up with 15 books total because I had 2 doubles. Okay, so, and this one was one of the doubles. So 9th roll was an even card, and that was to listen to an audiobook, and for that I listened to Midnight Tides, which is the 5th book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series by Stephen Erickson. I finished that one. Roll number 10 was an odd, and that was to read a sci-fi, and for that I chose a Divergence Part 1 Into the Machine, and that is by E.B. Wolf, and I did finish that one. Had a little bit of a slow start, but it definitely picked up as it went. Okay, so the next roll, so is that roll number 11? Roll number 11 was an even, and that was to read a nonfiction. And for that I read Burnout, which was the pick from the J&R Book Club with Jashi Curran, and that is by Emily and Amelia Nagoski, and I did finish that one. So roll number 12 was an even card, and that was to read a book with nature on the cover, and for that I read I Can Do It by Louisa Hay, and I did finish that one. Book number 13 was an odd card, and that was to read a friend pick. For that I chose The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner, and I did finish that one. And that one is another book club pick by Jan Agaton with her Full Moon Book Club. Book number 14, or roll number, well, book and roll number 14 was a booktuber rec. So for that I chose The Red Scrolls of Magic, which is the 1st book in the Eldest Curses series by Cassandra Clare, and that one is recommended by the Shadowhunter Readalong group with Darian Reads and with Love Lisa, and I did read that. I enjoyed it. Book number 15, the final book, was an odd, and that was to read a book you keep putting off. And for that, I chose Quiet Thunder by J.P. Harker. And I did finish that. It was really good. So I completed my entire 15-book TBR. I don't know how I did it, but I did it, and I'm very excited for that. Now, if you want to know how I did on my readathons, you'll have to wait for that video to come up later in the month. And if you want to know all of my thoughts for the books, all the books that I read this month, stay tuned for my wrap-up video that will be coming up at the beginning of May, as well as my Magical Readathon and Realmathon vlog and wrap-up for those. So I do have 2 readathons happening in May that I want to be taking part of, and I will do a separate video for the books that I choose for that one. And I will be participating in the final book support group with Steph Loves, and I will leave all the information down below so you can check out her video on that and get all the deets and the bingo card and everything that comes with that, as well as May the Force Read With You, I believe is what it's called, and that's with Break Even Books. And I will leave all the information for that below as well, but stay tuned and I'll have my TBR for those readathons coming up soon. Now for my May reads. How did TBRopoly go? So to start, I did have 2 reward cards, which I may want to rethink what I have on my reward cards, because I tend not to use them when it comes to the board, because I don't know, I just like branching out and just doing whatever the board tells me to do. But I do have a prompt out for a read-along book. I have a free reroll, which I did not use last month or this month, but I have 1 more month to use this one. So this one, if I don't use it, then it's gone, because I've already had that for 2 months. And I did complete my TBR for April, so I get another reward. I did come up with a couple more rewards, but if you have any suggestions, I would love to hear about them down in the comments. All right, so swap a prompt with a mood read. That one could be fun. So I decided to go ahead and roll my D10 die to choose how many books I would read in a month. And for this roll, I will, if it's less than 4 books, I will roll again. And if it's less than 4 again, I will just add the 2 numbers together. So I want to have at least a minimum of 4 books that are on my TBR every month. So if a minimum of 5 books. So if I get a 4 and then roll a 4 again, then I will read 8 books. If I get a 4 and a 3, 7 books. You get it. Anything under a 4, I will roll again and either add the 2 die together or pick whichever one is over 4 books. So that'll be my new rule going forward. Last month I did talk about just adding 1 more and doing 6, but I think I like just the randomness of the die in there. So always read at least 4 books and up to 10 every month. All right, so let's try rolling for how many books I'm going to read. 8. So I'm going to do 8 rolls today. So roll number 1 of 8. Got 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that is an even card. And that is to read a Jane Austen book. All right, for roll number 1, I rolled an even, and for that, I chose a Jane Austen book. And I will be reading The Watsons by Jane Austen. So roll number 2 of 8. Whoop. I got a 6 and a 5. 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That is an odd card. Randomized TBR. That one's always a fun prompt because you never know what you're gonna get. Roll number 2, I got an odd, and that was to randomize my TBR. So I have my entire Kindle library on a spreadsheet, and last I looked, there was 4,500 books on there. There's a lot. I definitely have not read that many. So yeah, this is good to get me reading more of my Kindle books than I get. So I'm going to do a random number generator from 1 to 4,500. 4513 I think is what it was, and then I will read whatever that book is. So let's go see how it goes. All right, so I have my 1 to 4,513 books, and let's see what we get. 1235. All right, scroll up to 1235. For Fox's Sake, The Chaos of Foxes by Emma Dean. And I did just get that one in 2022. All right, roll number 3. 10 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Another even card. A business book. So a nonfiction about business. So roll number 3 was an even, and for that I drew a business book. And for that I will be reading YouTube Secrets by Sean Cannell and Benji Travis. All right, roll number 4 of 8. Okay, maybe 9. So doubles and got 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10, that is an even card. And for that, I got to read a fantasy. Oh, that's nice. Okay, so roll number 4, I did get a double, so that gives me 9 books instead of 8 for this month. And it wasn't even, and I drew a card to read a fantasy book. And for that, I will be reading Bone Hunters, which is the 6th book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series by Stephen Erickson. All right, so roll number 5 of 9. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. TBR jar. So I have my handy dandy TBR jar here. If I can get it open, there we go. The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood. So my 5th roll was a TBR jar, and for that I drew The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood, and that is by Howard Pyle. I don't think I've ever read that one. So all right, roll number 6 of 9. We got a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That is another even. Whoop. I just can't hold on to these today. Rune series. Oh yes. So this used to say Seed Keeper, but I actually read that book already. So the Rune series, I was reusing my cards. And that is great because I just have a couple books left in that series. Roll number 6 was an even card, and that was to read the next book in the Rune series, which is great because I'm almost done with it. I have 2 books left. So basically 1 book left in the series and then a novella. So very excited to get through this series. It was really good. I really liked it. Yeah, it's by Edna Walters. So if you want to check them out, great books. Highly recommend. All right, roll number 7 of 9. Got 3. 1, 2, 3. Amazon Borrow. We'll roll the 10-sided die and see which one I'm going to read. 1. Okay, roll number 7 was I landed on Amazon Borrow, and for that I did roll the die and I got a 1, and that is basically the oldest borrow that I have on there, and that is My Mother Was Nuts, a memoir by Penny Marshall. So I grew up loving Laverne and Shirley with Lenny and Squiggy and all of them in there. It was just super fun, and I really like Penny Marshall, so as well as her brother Gary. So I'm kind of excited to read this. I've heard mixed reviews on it. For the most part, I've heard it's good, kind of a 3-star kind of book, but I'm excited to get into it and see what she has to say. All right, roll number 8 of 9. 5 and a 2, so 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that's an odd. Read a book with a dragon on the cover. I have a lot of those. Then roll number 8, which would have been my last roll, because that's what I rolled on the die, but no, got a double. So roll number 8. I landed on an odd card, and for that I drew read a book with a dragon on the cover. And for that I am going to read Ascendant, which is the first book in the Songs of Chaos series by Michael R. Miller. And that is actually on one of the books I have on my R Fantasy Bingo, so I'm excited to get another one of those books in here. All right, roll 9 of 9, last roll. Oh, jumped the gun there. 4 and 2, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Another even card. TBR game. So roll number 9 was my final roll, and for that I landed on an even, and I drew TBR game. So basically watching somebody else's TBR game on YouTube and either choose one of the prompts that they did or choose one of the books that they chose for their TBR. So there was only one TBR game up when I was looking, and that was Kaylani Simply Me, and she does her TBR bingo every month, which is super fun. I love watching that. I will insert the clip here.
I-17. Swear this prompt haunts me every month. I-17 is TBR jar.
Her bingo pick ended up being TBR jar, so I will pick another book from my TBR jar. Here's my TBR jar. A handy dandy book trash can. Trash can of books. Oh no. Bunch falling out. Okay. Let's see. Mix them up a little bit more. What am I going to get? Oh. Gateway Trackers. Alright, so the Gateway Trackers by E.E. Holmes. I did read the first book in this series, and that was The Whispering something. So I did read the first book in this series, so this is the second one. Plague of the Shattered by E.E. Holmes. So for book clubs and readalongs this month, I have, for the Full Moon Book Club, we're reading Catherine House, and that's by Elizabeth Thomas. I actually have read that one, so I will probably skip that because I already have a lot of books on my TBR, but I will participate in the live show. For the Howling Pack, we're going to be reading The Ninth Reign by Jen Williams, and this one's on my R Fantasy Bingo as well. The J&R Book Club is Promises and Pomegranates by Sav R. Miller. My library doesn't have this book. If I can find it, I'll read it. If not, but it sounds like it's a contemporary romance. Might be kind of fun if I can find it. I'm assuming it's going to be a Hades and Persephone style book, but I don't really know anything about it, so I'm not sure. I'm just guessing. That was it for the book clubs. Now for the readalongs. For the Shadowhunter read-along, we are up to Ghosts of the Shadow Market by Cassandra Clare, and I'm excited to read that one. I just put it on hold for my library, but Hoopla does have it through my library on audiobook, but you have to get each short story on its own, so we'll see how, and you only get 10 borrows a month with Hoopla, so I will see how many books I have, whether I try and read it physically or listen to it audibly. For the Malazan Book of the Fallen, we are up to book number 6 by Stephen Erickson, and that is The Bone Hunters. And I was able to get that one on my TBR, so that's good. First Law Trilogy, we're on the 3rd book in the series by Joe Abercrombie. And this one is actually for May and June, so if I get to it, great. If not, then I can put it in my June TBR, but hopefully I'll at least start it, but I'll save it towards the end. And that is The Last Argument of Kings. For the Cosmere read-along by Brandon Sanderson with Elliot Brooks, we are up to Oathbringer, and that is also the May and June book. So those two, Last Argument of Kings and Oathbringers, I will save to the end of the month. Editing Debbie here to tell you that Oathbringer is actually the book for June, and the May books for the Cosmere read-along are Elantris, The Emperor's Soul, and The Hope for Elantris. For Discworld, we have 2 more books that we're reading this month, and that is Eric and Moving Pictures, and that is with Literary Diversions. So I've been having a lot of fun with these. And then Wheel of Time, the book is for April and May, and that is The Dragon Reborn. I am about 35% of the way through it at this point, and I do have it as a read-along prompt, or as a readathon prompt for the Magical Readathon, so I will most likely finish that before the end of this month. And that is with Got a Thing for Things, and I will leave all of those channels linked below. Are you taking part of any readathons this month? If so, let me know down in the comments, especially if you're taking part in May the Force Read With You or the Final Book Support Group. If you're doing either of those readathons, let me know what your TBR is going to be like down in the comments. And do you like to play TBR games, or do you just like to mood read and just pick a book as you go? I would love to hear what you're reading this month. So thank you so much for joining me, and please like, comment, and subscribe if you wanna, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any videos from me. Until next time, I will catch you later. Bye.